Welcome, everybody. I'm Andrew Miller, one of the partners at the Vendux Group, where we focus on helping clients to grow their sales leadership capital. And I'm thrilled to be here today with our friend and emerging strategic partner, Jennifer Harmel, the COO of Annuitas. I'm going to
Thanks,
let
Andrew.
Jennifer introduce her. I'm going to let you introduce yourself in a second, Jennifer, but a couple of quick housekeeping notes for everybody. We're going to keep everyone muted for the duration of our webinar today, and there'll be a Q&A at the end. So you can either use your chat function in Zoom to submit questions, or feel free to ask your questions or make comments directly and engage with Jennifer at the end of the webinar. The webinar is being streamed live on LinkedIn and it's being recorded. The recording will be on our site and on YouTube later today. Many of our interactions and views are in the recorded sessions. So, with that, let's jump in. Jennifer, it's really a treat to have you with us today. Please just briefly introduce yourself. How did you get to where you are today? And then we're going to dive into this great and important and timely topic of the art and science of demand generation. So, in a nutshell, so intro and who is Annuitas? And one more thing, I just noticed that you serve on the board of directors of the Houston Livestock Show and radio and not radio,
Rodeo.
rodeo. Um, I have been all over the world. I've seen some really amazing and crazy things in my life, but a rodeo is not one of them. So still on my bucket list.
Well, you're welcome anytime. But first, thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm excited to talk about this as well. In addition to being a rodeo gal, horse gal, my professional career, I didn't really study marketing in college. I fell into it after undergrad and fell in love with it. And frankly, probably fell in love more with the scientific side of it than the artistic side in the beginning. And so went back, got my MBA in international marketing, cut my teeth at a couple of different agencies with B2C and B2B clients, fell more in love with the B2B side of things and the complexities that are associated there. And then I went client side in the tech boom, working for Hewlett Packard, working for BMC Software. And then I went over to the consulting side about a dozen years ago. So my company, Annuitas, has been with them for a dozen years, and think of us as a niche consultancy. So similar, to a McKinsey, very white glove service with our clients, but we're hyper focused on marketing and sales process, the IT that enables all of that, all centered around helping our clients drive revenue growth. And that's what makes us that's our secret sauce.
That's very cool. So so the art and the science of demand gen, um, what does each bring to the table in today's complex environment, especially in the world of B2B, where many of our clients are and many of our sales leaders operate in?
Yeah, I think there's no question that science has played a huge growing part in demand generation over the last 5, 10, 15 years. I mean, I can literally remember when email was a new thing, not to date myself too much, but it was. I can remember working to build an opt-in database. I can remember talking about this thing called database marketing and how cool I thought that was, that, oh my gosh, you can, marketing's not about pretty pictures. While the pretty pictures are always going to be important, there's a way to track everything and use data to get better and better, at what we do. I think today, nobody questions the impact of science, right? I mean, for God's sake, we've got AI. It's all anybody's talking about right now. And how do you apply it to demand generation as well? But we can't forget the art side of it. I'll inevitably dig into in a few minutes. But the art side of it, meaning the understanding of your customers and your prospects, right? Applying a thoughtful logic. And I think that there's got to be an elegant way to approaching your prospects and your customers, right? So it really, really has to still be that balance of art and science. Again, with science playing a larger and larger role as we just gain more technology and more capabilities.
Yeah. So what's your perspective and experience on driving both on mix you know that the alchemy of both to maximize revenue growth?
Yeah, I mean, most of our clients will come to us, and it really shockingly hasn't changed over the last dozen years. There's always one or more of 4 or 5 issues that companies are struggling with. And our clients are all B2B clients. And I'll tell you that the larger the company, it's like the more problems they have that they need to solve, right? One is always going to be, oh my gosh, we're not generating enough demand. We need more leads, right? Sales isn't happy with marketing. Marketing isn't happy with sales. There's tremendous misalignment there. Another big issue is I have no idea how I'm performing. From a marketing perspective, you're spending millions and millions of dollars on paid advertising and have no idea what you're getting out of it. Sure, you might know opens and clicks, but can you tell what turned into a closed won deal? Most of our clients cannot, right? And part and parcel to that is just data issues. And that's why, I say the bigger the company, it's really true. The bigger the company, it's like the more problems that they have, because when you grow and oftentimes you're acquiring companies or merging with other companies, the more data sets you have, right? All of your data is not in one place. There's not a single source of truth. And you're just constantly going around you're flying blind in regards to really understanding who your best prospects and your best customers are. And so science today can help a lot with that, right? Obviously. But thinking back to the art of that as well, like how can you really understand things like what's going on in the minds of your prospects and your customers, right? What's keeping them up at night? And guess what? That needs to inform what advertising channels you're spending your money on, right? Where are they going to educate themselves? What kind of content should you be putting in front of your prospects and customers? What kind of message is going to resonate with them based on what their pain points are? And you're not really going to find that out through science. You're going to find that out by, believe it or not, actually talking to them. We will spend the first, call it, month of working with any new client and literally having interviews with our clients, prospects, and customers to ask them a lot of those questions. Hey, what's going on in your industry right now? What are you guys talking about, right? What are you learning about? What regulatory or technology innovations are impacting your market and whatever it is that you're selling? What's keeping you up at night? What are the steps that you went through if you're a customer? What are the steps that you went through to make a purchasing decision? One of the other things that has changed dramatically over the past just handful of years, and as marketers and sales leaders alike, we intuitively know that, but when you look at the numbers, put out by Gartner or other analysts, the number of people in a B2B buying process that are involved in the decision, it has skyrocketed, right? And I was at a Forrester event earlier this year where they're not even talking about buying groups. You're now talking about buying networks, right? So now you've got procurement and IT and right, several others, but now you've got these influencers also on the outside that have a heavy hand in influencing the buying decision. And as these 10, 15, 20 people are all weighing in on how to solve the problem and what product or solution to buy, everybody's being bombarded with marketing messages. That's what's also skyrocketed, right? You've got additional channels, right? You've got all of this noise coming at you that for a marketer makes it so challenging to figure out, what do I say to who within that buying network? Because what the procurement person wants to hear is different from what the IT person wants to hear, is different from what the product manager wants to hear, right? And again, that's where that art and science has to work together.
As Frank Zappa said, this is the crux of the apostrophe. This, so the science allows marketers to do stuff at scale, which is why there's so much noise.
That's right.
The art side of it, as you said, is is the stuff that allows us to understand very specifically who are we talking to? What are their pain points? What are the things that we have that can fix their problems? How do you scale? So there's no question about, on the subject of scaling, there's no argument about leveraging science to scale, to get messages out consistently en masse to anyone. But then on the other side of the coin, with the art side, isn't the art portion of this subject the throttling piece of it? Doesn't art restrict our ability to scale? In other words, how do we use the art side to scale effectively, also to be talking to hundreds or thousands of potential prospects in a more personalized way?
Yeah. I think the art side is what has to come first, Andrew, actually, because at the outset, let me back up a second. What we end up building for our clients is so new compared to anything that they've done before, right? So when you start out, you don't really have the historical data to say what's working or what's not, right? Like I've mentioned, they've got data issues. Systems aren't talking to each other, or you're taking a different approach, even as fundamental as how you think of your demand funnel, right? We all know what I'm talking about when I say demand funnel, but the stages of a demand funnel could be quite different for what we build for our clients. There's typically additional layers of the funnel that we work to implement. And so the art side is based on our understanding, based of this firsthand knowledge and research that we're doing, talking to customers and prospects. We're saying, hey, based on that, we think this is what your prospects want to hear. We believe that this is what is going to push them from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel as quickly as possible. Okay. That's when I think of more the art side. We go live, we start executing on all of this. You've got a demand engine that is humming along, but guess what? It's never going to be perfect out the gate. It's all about then using the science and the data and the results to say, how do I optimize this? Do I have a demand engine that's effective enough and smart enough? I can look at it and say, hey, you know what? 20% of my people are getting stuck between this stage of the funnel and the next stage of the funnel. What's wrong? That's where a little bit of the art and the science come into play again, where the art side's like, well, it could be the content's not resonating. It could be that the back end scoring mechanism we have in place, right? Maybe that's not tight enough. Maybe we need to pick up the phone and talk to sales and say, hey, these leads that are coming over to you, they're not converting. Why not? Give me the anecdotal information, which is like 14 karat gold, right? And as you have that engine going along for a period of time, you have the opportunity to just get smarter and smarter. And with AI, we're to a point where I believe, the notion of auto optimization is quite compelling and very possible these days. But you don't have that to start, right? You have to use your research, use your methodology, use an orchestrated approach, and then use your data to figure out what's working and what's really not.
Yeah, I like that the notion of that everything starts on the art side, and then depending on the analysis or the results of creating the art, then you're bringing in the tools and the science to support the findings of the art side. Is that basic?
Exactly. And I don't want to let me say that it's not like there's no science in the beginning. I mean, if you have the data available, I mean, for God's sake, use it, right? Do some data benchmarking, which is really key. If at all possible, you want to get the baseline, right? How are we doing today in terms of converting an initial inquiry to a qualified lead to a closed won deal? At least measure that so that you can measure your improvement post kind of transformation of your demand gen efforts.
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned that you work with a lot of mid-sized to larger B2B companies, and one of their pain points is always, oh, we need more leads. Well, I can assure you, even in our world where we're working with, from startups to companies in the 70, 80, $90 million revenue range, that pain point is consistent. It's very rare. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation with a prospect who said, "Oh, we have more demand than we can handle."
Me too. Never.
So,
Never. But you're right. It's the same. And we work with a lot of high growth companies, so smaller revenue, but have pretty aggressive revenue goals. We work with them to help them get there. But yeah, it's always I need more leads. I need to drive more revenue. And what typically happens is, my first question is, well, are you just looking for quantity or are you looking for quality? Right. And what we excuse me, what we really do is focus on quality. A lot of times we get to a certain point in working with a client where they realize, based on how we're looking at qualifying a lead, that their number of leads are shocker. They're actually going to go down. The quantity is going to go down. Sales organization can freak out about that, right? But we explain that, guess what? The quality is going to be so much better. Does it really matter if the quantity of leads goes down as long as your conversion rate from lead to opportunity to closed win deal is so much better?
yep.
It doesn't matter as long as we're driving revenue growth, right?
Absolutely. There's every business owner and sales organization would say, "Oh yeah, no problem. Quality of leads goes down. Quantity goes down.
Quantity,
Quality goes up. Conversion rate goes up. I am over the moon."
sign me
Absolutely.
up. Yeah.
So, so that, so now we certainly agree and see the world in the same way that every business owner, every organization says, if I had more quality leads, my conversion rate would absolutely go up and we'd be very happy. So that's the premise. Now, in the world that we're in today with AI dynamics,
Mhm.
what are you seeing in terms of best practices and adoption of great AI tools?
Um,
And just before you answer that, I'm just going to tell you, like, my when I think of this stuff in today's environment, to me, the holy grail of being able to use AI is, let's say I've got 500 or 1,000 prospects, and I've used good art and good science to identify them, the ICP, and I've got 1,000 prospects, and I want to have 1,000 different agents out there, one for each prospect. And I've programmed these agents to get me weekly, bi-weekly reporting and data and information on each of those prospects by title and by name. I've got 1,000 CEOs that I want to talk to. And every week or every day, each of those unique agents that are focused on each of those 1,000 people are coming back to me to help me be customized on what I need to do to get into that prospect, one by one by one agent, one prospect. That's that's the way I think about leveraging AI in a highly customized, information-driven way. Is that
yeah, I
you?
mean, I we're thinking about AI a little bit, not differently but in a lot of other ways too. And like, I don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole on AI because I think we're all probably blue in the face talking about AI right now. But you know, so many tools out there. I think people in the demand generation space, we're all still really trying to figure it out. I see my clients trying to snap on an AI tool for this and an AI tool for this and an AI tool for this
Mhm.
without being able to find a platform, like a single platform
Mhm.
that is really smart about demand gen. Getting back to, it's not all science, there's still some art to it, right? But I think that AI down the road in the not too distant future, I'm going to say something spicy here, might kind of replace marketing automation. Like, I could see it going that way. And I see AI, thinking back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago, the auto optimization, right? Today, as marketers, we're still, looking at dashboards, hopefully. Hopefully we are. And to assess things like, oh, what piece of content is working best here, for example, right? Or what was the optimal path to get somebody from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel? What are the channels they went through? What's the content that they digested? What's the critical path, we call it, right? AI should be able to answer that. AI, without us anymore having to build the logic into marketing automation and personalization platforms, it should be able to say, hey, based on what we know about this prospect and what they've looked at on our website and the content that they've interacted with, this is exactly the perfect recipe to get them from here to a sale, right? Um, yeah, so I think that, again, there's still got to be art. I think we still need human beings definitely at the outset to enable the right methodology and the right approach. but that AI can be super helpful along the lines of automation and optimization.
Mhm. I want to open up the floor in a second to outside questions here. I've got a in your world I'm interested to know who are you seeing out there that have done things right, that have done
Ah,
things properly. Like,
yeah,
you know, an example uh, that we would want to
yeah,
achieve. And conversely, when you go in a new client, what are some pain points? No, how have you helped an organization go from uh, 1995 environment to a 2025 environment?
yeah. Those are both really, really good questions. I'll err on the more positive side of that and talk about a client that I think did it really right and how we helped them. Um, I would say the number one thing is making sure that you have the right stakeholders involved from day one. Transforming the way that you approach demand generation can't be a marketing effort, right? It can't be a sales effort. It needs to be both. It's got to be both. You need everybody in the proverbial room at the same time to agree to the goals, agree to the why, and agree to the how, right? Everybody needs to have a little skin in the game. Um, Another part of that is the actual financial goals. And I'll talk about, I'll protect the innocent, not reveal names, but we worked with a client over the last near 4 years. And one of the things that we did, and we do this across all of our clients, but this client did just a fabulous job in adhering to it. And the it was building a model from day one that said, what are your revenue goals 3 years out, right? Where do you want to get to? And incorporating what's your average deal size, what's the length of your sales cycle, what are your current, again, data benchmarking, what are your conversion rates, what type of conversion rates should we see it ramp as we work with you. And you use that to back all the way into how many engagements do we need per month, per quarter? How many leads do we need? How many opportunities do we need, right? Down to how much money do we think we need to spend on events versus paid, social, whatever, right? We all agreed to it. Again, sales, marketing, finance, everybody had skin in the game. There wasn't a single monthly, quarterly optimization session that we didn't all come back to the table and look at how we had all performed collectively against those goals. Again, not a marketing effort, not a sales effort. It was a combined effort, right? Marketing spending the money on the channels. How many people are we pulling into the funnel? How did we do? Did sales pick those up? Did they really turn into opportunities and revenue? And then use the time together to discuss where we weren't meeting our goals. What did we need to do to change? Why weren't we meeting those? What levers did we need to pull? Right? And how can we continue to strive? So it was fantastic. The phrase we were all singing from the same song sheet. We truly were. We weren't always knocking it out of the park, but we were coming together. We could see that we weren't knocking it out of the park. Number one, a lot of companies can't even see that. And two, it was just, let's roll up our sleeves. We're a big team and let's solve this. And we did it. We had a tremendous success.
I'm going to come back to you with something a little spicy. So
Okay.
you're the consultant, and you are now in these organizations, and you are bringing these various stakeholders together. sales, marketing, and others
Yep.
so that everyone's got skin in the game.
Yep.
I'm the business owner. After a period of time when the plan has been agreed and devised and then executed, and results do not equal what the plan was, how do you handle or prevent or mitigate, oh, we're sales. No, this is a marketing problem. And marketing says the same thing, and people are pointing fingers. So
Yeah.
whose throat do I get to choke?
It goes back to what I said though. If you're doing it right from the beginning, there's not that's their fault. That's right. That's why it has to be that way from the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, in order to prevent that. And in clients where I have worked where we really did set the goals collectively from the beginning,
Mhm.
it doesn't happen that way.
Mhm.
Now, when it does, you know, it, there's always going to be stuff that's out of your control, right? There are market changes or perhaps product changes that the client made that you had nothing to do with, right? Or hired salespeople who didn't have the right backgrounds and qualifications. Like there's there's always going to be outside influences,
Yeah.
right? That aside, um, if everybody's on the same team from day one, I'll also say inevitably you're going to have other people join the stakeholder circle along the way, right? That didn't have the opportunity to be there from day one. So it's really important as soon as somebody new comes in, you get a new CMO, right? Well, no, flashers were going off. Oh my God, we got to, educate this new person on what the strategy was and get them on board and make sure that they're brought into the fold is really, really important.
The principle of having everybody on the same song sheet, 1,000% makes sense. And I suppose that's where that's what also separates the great consultants and service providers who do that and stick with it throughout the process. Um, th Thanks, Jennifer. That's great. I see a couple of hands up. Mr. Prosser, you have a question?
Mr. Prosser? Well, that was my dad. Before I ask my question, I just want to tell you the Houston Rodeo is such a big deal that you can't even imagine. I want to invite you down to Houston to go to it. It's a month-long program. It's a month-long event that if you're a chairman of any group at all, you're God. And hundreds, if not thousands of people actually participate in this. It's one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing in Houston. So where are you, Jennifer? Hats off to you. I'm in Houston, and
Yeah.
we have trail riders, and we have wine chairmen, and I probably know 12 people in this town, as big as it is. So
There's
it's no
35,000
small thing.
volunteers to make it happen. Yeah, it's a
What'd you
big
say?
thing.
Yeah,
35,000 volunteers
35,000.
that make it
It's no
happen.
small thing.
No
It's
small
bigger than anything. It's not a big circle of, bucking Broncos with people sitting in the stands.
thing.
It's like
I love
top
it. I'm going to take you up to your offer.
performers. Anyway, my question has to do with AI, and I know you touched on it. What and I'm really curious because I didn't hear you say how, and I'm sorry about how dark this screen is, but I didn't hear you say that AI was really contributing very much to how you were solving the issues that your clients have. Where does AI really fit into this? Because I have about 2 years of AI experience now, and I'm like, it's like everything to me these
Yeah.
days. And I do something like you. Okay.
Yeah, I can give you a couple of examples of where I see AI helping us today. There are others, but just for time's sake. One is we go through a process to kind of normalize existing content, like working with a client, looking at, okay, give me all the content that you have, and let's help you figure out how it aligns to the stages of the funnel and your different personas, right? We're using AI for that, and it really shortens up our time frame, right? Is it perfect? No, you still need some human intervention, but it is a massive shortcut. The other, probably more impactful way that we're using AI is, everybody hates forms. You want to read content, some form pops up and you got to answer 10 questions, right? Agentic AI is helping us gather some of that information, more of like the demographic, the behavioral information, so that we are less reliant on forms. And it makes the data capture feel a lot more conversational, for example, if you're leveraging chat. So that's another really, really positive impact it's had.
Okay. Oh, but I wanted to mention to you, I've started the calf scramble several times.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Are you in Houston?
I was until about 6 years ago, but so I've been a volunteer for 25 years, chairman, a couple of times. I'll be down in Houston in a couple of weeks for a board meeting. So.
Okay, so I'm going to send you a message, and when you come down, I'd like to meet with you.
Yeah, sounds great. Love to.
So get a tea or something.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for letting me ask the question, and I'll turn it back to Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Thank you. Other questions out there? Jennifer, one perhaps another question. In terms of the roles, let's say, you've got the chief revenue officer who is responsible for both sales and marketing. How often, sorry, actually the question is, within your organizations, how often do you see like distinctive functions and organizational distinction between
Yeah.
sales and marketing versus perhaps a trend where they're more under one roof?
That is a really, really great question, Andrew. My answer would be not enough. I think it is a trend that it's getting combined, but not quickly and not often enough. We still see, not only do we see, still the CMO and then the kind of the head of sales, whatever, that's the CRO that does not also own marketing. We think of this notion as the chief growth officer, which I think is a great title, right? Because marketing and sales both drive growth. And as I've probably pontificated far too much already today, they need to be aligned and they need to work together. Down at lower levels, we also see very, very disparate roles. You think of your typical, just thinking of a marketing organization, you've got somebody in charge of the web, right? You got somebody here in charge of events. You got somebody, maybe a writer in charge of content. What we like to see and encourage is to think of your org chart more around your stages of the funnel. Which I know, like, you're like, wait, Jennifer, what in the world are you talking about? But bear with me. So somebody who is really focused on the top of the funnel, right? And thinking about what are the feelers? How can I get people to come to me? What type of content do I need? How do I change my website in order to do that? Where do I need to do my paid advertising, right? Somebody else who's really focused on the middle of the funnel, right? So they're focused more on how do I nurture these people, right? And it just makes for a far more cohesive demand generation experience. Without that, it has a tendency to feel very unorchestrated, right? whatever outbound nurture emails you're sending, also it needs to be orchestrated with whatever retargeting you're doing online and how you're personalizing your website. And when somebody's just siloed thinking about events or siloed, it makes it very challenging to do the orchestration that I'm talking about.
Hmm.
So just food for thought.
So you do see an emerging trend where sales and marketing are more and more aligned under one roof, under a chief growth officer?
We have seen some of that, but not enough. I'd like to see more of it because I think it's a good trend
Mhm.
because it does foster that alignment and that getting everybody on the same team.
That's interesting. William, do you have a question?
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you very much for the insights. It's funny, your timing's quite good. I was actually yesterday laying out a process flow chart for culinary innovation to post-launch analysis and kind of relate that to your top of the funnel, where I'm in the food world. So the top of our funnel starts with, marketing, culinary insights, food trends, et cetera, and then flows into developing, culinary ideation actually in the kitchen. And then looking at that from a business case standpoint. So we've got ideas and trends that are out there, in our case, in mid-scale casual dining or white tablecloth. They move into the warehouse clubs and then into general retail and into kind of QSRs and ubiquity. So we're looking a little further out. So we rely on marketing and some food trend companies to assist us with what's coming down the road from a trend standpoint. Then we develop the products. Then we say, okay, we bring sales in and finance in and say, okay, you need, we can have the greatest widget in the world, but if it costs too much money, nobody's going to buy it. So let's put some guardrails starting on it. So you start really wide with trends. You bring it down with sales and finance. Then you're developing based on that cost target. You're developing something with culinary and R&D, and then you bring the sales force in to go show it. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you've got operations and that kind of stuff, although they're involved in from a making sure the plants can produce it standpoint. So just an observation. I like that funnel approach. The other thing, going back to AI, was at a conference, I think last week. Time flies by, but we were talking about how AI was very beneficial for kind of quickly manipulating data and doing the mundane tasks and freeing up more time for the human interaction that is still needed with customers.
Sure.
And that if you try to use AI to interact with the customers, it ends up not going well in general, particularly if you're targeting, again, in my world, we're a relatively small company, so we're very targeted by who we're going to. So I'll never use AI to go reach out to 1,000 folks. The reality is there are 3 dozen that I want to talk to. The other, I think also in terms of the alignment of sales and marketing together, I was with a multi-billion-dollar company for 25 years, and sales and marketing were definitely, separate functions. They weren't necessarily silos because we worked well together. But the last 15 years, I've been in basically $150 million and less companies. And those size companies tend to have more underneath one umbrella just because of size and scale and scope of their P&Ls. And I think that's one of the reasons why I personally enjoy those smaller companies, because you tend to be more aligned out of necessity. The bigger you get, the easier it is to layer on processes and silos. So just observations, but thank you for all your insights.
No, thank you. You sound like you're in a very interesting business.
That's fun. I love to eat. So
who doesn't? I'd love to ideate on
peddled food for 40 years and solutions around food for lots of different folks. I enjoy it.
I'm hungry now.
I appreciate your insights. Thanks, William. That's good. In Jennifer, let's wrap things up. I mean, do you have one or two nuggets of wisdom, some advice, some best practices? Do this, don't do that as we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, work together, right? We've talked about that quite a bit. Work together, talk to your prospects and customers. I feel like marketers don't do a good enough job of listening. We do a lot of talking, not enough listening. So think about, like a first date, right? You should be doing more listening than talking. Um, and get away from what we like to think of and call random acts. I still see a lot of random acts going on out there, and I'm referring to things like, hey, we need more leads, let's do a webinar. Hey, we need more leads, let's write a white paper and spend a bunch of money, advertise it everywhere, right? Those are random acts. You are better off just halting all of that and getting your strategy together, doing your research, getting a strategy together, and then going out with a meaningful, orchestrated demand. Those would be my three big nuggets.
I love those. I love those. And in the world of sales, it's like one of the first lessons ever. Remember, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason.
I love that. Yes, we do.
Very good. So, how do people get in touch with you? And
Yeah.
if anybody listening today or in the recording and want to have a separate conversation with you, what are your contacts?
Feel free. You can ping me on LinkedIn, Jennifer Harmel, or you can just shoot me a direct email. It's just my name, no periods, no dashes, just Jennifer, Harmel at Annuitas.com. Happy to continue the conversation. I could talk about this for eons, so feel free to just drop me a line and we'll chat.
Excellent. Excellent. Jennifer, what a treat to have you. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate your insights and time. If I don't see you in Houston at a rodeo, then perhaps somewhere else in the country at an event.
Yeah.
And Dan as well. Have a great rest of the week, the month, the quarter. The new year is right around the corner.
Race to the finish.
Yes. So we will hopefully we do this again soon over the coming months or so, early in the year or some point.
Sounds great. Thanks
Again,
for having me.
thank you, Jennifer. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Great
Bye,
question.
everybody.
Appreciate the participation. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.